Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Exclusive Interviews. I am Salome Lackey, and we are bringing in Women's Month this month with expert campaign manager and activist Venneikia Williams. Venneikia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
So glad to be
So,
here.
we have some major information to get into for Women's Month because women dealing with the media, there's always barriers, right? There's always something that comes up. We just had the recent incident with like Kelly Rowland and how to use the dressing room. And it's just, the way that sometimes the media portrays women as being like upset or angry, it's a big deal. And so the power of voices in media for women, um, to express how we truly feel, to express the things that we go through is it's very, 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 very important. So what I want to start by asking you is what inspired you to embark on the journey of re-imaging representation in media, particularly for focusing on women's voices?
Yeah, very good question. I would say, I would say being a woman, specifically a
Mhm.
Black woman, there's a very unique way in which I move throughout the world.
Yeah.
I have a specific seat in the theater, so to speak. So I can't say that I chose this journey, more so that it chose me. I don't really believe that our identities in and of themselves are negative or positive things,
Mhm.
but it's how we choose to live, informed by those identities that can be a problem or a solution, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so again, being a Black woman, I think of the Black Feminist Manifesto, the Combahee River Collective Statement, that talks about identity politics that they say it evolves from a healthy love for
Mhm.
ourselves, our sisters, our community, and that allows us to continue our struggle in our work. And so like I came to this work in light of those things, wanting us to see ourselves in our full humanity. Um, and that's what keeps me here, removing obstacles to people thriving and living in their fullness.
Yeah. And you're speaking about living in their fullness. And even sometimes when women do that in the public eye, there are stereotypes that come along with that. So what are some common stereotypes associated with women in media? And how do they impact societal perceptions and expectations?
I would say it's the usual. There aren't too many tricks of the trade. Like
Yeah.
there's the assumption or accusation that we're too emotional and that clouds our judgment. That emotion being the range of emotion. So too sad, too angry, not serious enough. Whatever that might be for the context, it's always too much of something or not enough of another thing.
Right.
And I see that in media spaces. I see that within education. I see that within healthcare. I see that within other like institutional spheres. So I wish it were specific to media, but it certainly isn't.
Yeah, it's an all around thing. So, in your opinion, what are some effective strategies for challenging and dismantling these stereotypes with media reports?
Listen, I feel like if you asked me personally,
Hmm.
even 3, 5 years ago, you
Yeah,
might have gotten a different answer.
yeah.
As for today, where we're at now,
Hmm.
I have moved past the space of trying to convince people of my value,
Hmm.
to
That's
make them
powerful.
sure of my worth, right?
Yeah.
Um, some people believe in working within the system and working to affect change. And if that is your bread and butter, by all means, baby, go for it. That is no longer my ministry. And I think that's the case for some of the people that I know. And so to them, I say, take that energy that might be wasted elsewhere and pour that into building alternatives, something that actually works for you. And so the beauty of technology and the advances that we have is that there's more accessibility and possibility for people to have their own platforms, to start their own things, to be with like-minded people and be amplifying one another's work. Why continue to go back to a place that doesn't pour into you and is actually extracting from you? If you have to, that's one thing, but I believe there are options for us that we have to again build those new alternatives with.
How can media producers and content creators ensure inclusive and authentic representation with women experiences and stories?
I think pursuing diversity for the sake of diversity, even if the person looks like you, you and I don't even have the same experience.
Right.
So truly just being open to the beauty found in different stories based on different identities, different experiences, that sort of thing. Because honestly, I was talking to a friend the other day about it. They were telling me about some movie or show, um, and how they didn't really like it because it was too far out there. And I was like, in an age where everything is a reboot, a remake, I appreciate originality. And I believe that originality comes from listening to folks and actually giving them the chance to be a voice for themselves. So
Right.
rather than the old cliche of being a voice for the voiceless, move out of the way and mute yourself so
Right.
that they can actually speak on their own.
How can policymakers and industry leaders support efforts to improve representation of women in media?
Well, you used the word representation, which I I have I won't even say mixed feelings about. I have strong feelings about.
Right.
Representation does not equal power. So if you were to ask like what representation actually is, I would say representation means being seen and being visible,
Right.
but that doesn't equate to having true power. I
Right.
don't even think that it guarantees that one is being heard, to be honest, because some spaces think that the invite to the table alone was enough. It
Right.
doesn't really ensure that your opinion will be heard or taken into account, just that you're present and
Right.
tokenized in that way. In sociology, like there's this concept that essentially says that something can be necessary but not sufficient. And I think that totally applies here, where representation, being seen, is important, but not a totally encompassing thing. So
Right.
when we get into things like policy and where power lies,
Right.
who's moving and making certain decisions,
Mhm.
again, if you asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have been like,
It'd be
oh,
different.
we need to get into these places of power and shift policy on our behalf. And I still think that work is worthwhile because the work of harm reduction and those things that are actually harming us are important to intervene and to dismantle. But again, I move towards alternatives. The Black radical tradition has always been filled with stories of, in the midst of opposition, in the midst of like against all odds, right? This thing is existing and thriving. And I don't know, especially, let's be for real, it's an election year. Both parties are playing in our face. There are certain things where you can't just say, go to this side and they'll certainly be for you. That's
Right.
not where we're at, and it's not
Right.
where we've been.
Yeah.
So just assuming that like political leaders have your best interests at heart, that's that's not what's happening here. I come from the tradition where we honor people like Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker. Ella Baker saying that strong people don't need a strong leader.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in people power. I believe, again, in us actually constructing, like literally constructing the things that we need, even in the face of people who don't have any act right about them. So it would be nice if policymakers suddenly had a change of heart. We put together a persuasive argument and they were like moved to action.
Right.
Uh, Sometimes that happens. What's more likely to happen is that we do what we need to do, even despite and in spite of them.
What role can education and media literacy play in empowering audiences to demand more diverse and authentic representations of women in media?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, media literacy is so crucial, so critical. And especially as I believe AI and different technologies begin to advance and what's real and what's not real becomes harder to distinguish between. Uh, Having spaces where we can teach people how to actually consume and partake and make media. I don't believe that the media as a system, it's this transactional thing where somebody is giving us something and we take it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think media is the work of what they call epistemic justice. It's ways of knowing and shared knowing. It's meaning making, narratives that connect us to one another, things of that nature. So I believe just as credible as the journalist is,
Mm-hmm.
the grandmother on the corner or the
Mm-hmm.
stoop that
Right.
knows like ins and outs of the neighborhood is also a media maker. Like she
Right.
has valuable intel. So with all that said, and for the generations to come, like I think us being careful stewards of the technology that we have,
Mm-hmm.
um, preserving our stories. So I believe in the work of curators and archivists. Um, I believe in documenting the moments and making sure that those are able to be passed on. I love seeing like old images of like James Baldwin and Toni Morrison together. Like you just have this living moment of history, although they were just friends sharing life. So I don't believe that social media and documenting your life is a bad thing. I think
Right.
it's to what purpose. Um, yeah, and I think communally we decide those things. I think individualism will continue to uh, destroy and decay what we're trying to build. And so doing these things together, one of our allies at Media 2070, Sierra
Mm-hmm.
Hinton at Scalawag magazine had this
Mm-hmm.
idea for a media freedom school, essentially, where people would learn the basic in and outs of like media communications, things of that nature. And I think some of those models would be helpful to people who are up and coming, interested in the field and how to engage within it.
What are some of the some other up and coming projects or initiatives that you are working on that aim to further advance the cause of women's representation in media?
Um, in terms of uh, building representation and true power within media, like I believe that the future is female. I believe there are Black people in the future. Uh, I believe that the initiatives that we create shape and shift culture. And so anything we put our hands to, it's this alchemist effect of like changing something. Shout out to Octavia, where it's like everything you touch, you change, and God is
Mm-hmm.
change, right? And so there are a few different things, none of them specific to women in media, but seeing communities like come together within media. Media 2070 specifically is working on a petition to the Federal Communications Commission to investigate their history of anti-Black racism within media, where, for instance, the first broadcast licenses given out during Jim Crow were only given to white men. And so even now today, we're still seeing the effects where when it comes to Black ownership of outlets, it's in single digits, which is rather unfortunate. And then when you consider the percentage of those who are then women of color, Black women, like even less so. So that petition will be going forth. We have different cultural initiatives. There's a film called Black in the Newsroom that surprisingly talks about being Black in the newsroom. That's available on Media 2070's YouTube. Follows the story of a journalist, Elizabeth Montgomery, and her challenges that she faced within a newsroom within the media system, and talks about the media system more broadly, zooming out from that. We have Black Future Newsstand, where we actually last June, around Juneteenth, broadcasted or launched an event in our installation in Harlem, New York, where one of those like old decommissioned newsstands, we refurbished that essentially and created something beautiful where publications from Black people, I believe some of the majority of them were Black women, were put on display so we could see our stories fully. So we have that. We're teaching college courses to talk to students about before they're entering the system, their agency as change agents to make the world that they want to see. So there are a lot of things that are happening. I could go on, but I think all of those things like impact us as people, and then of course then like us as women as well.
What message would you like to convey to our audience about the importance of re-imaging representation, amplifying women's voices in the public eye in general?
My word to the people. June Jordan, a poet, activist, ancestor, talks about her poem Resolution 103, I believe, being nobody's fool. She said, I will love those who love me. I'll be indifferent to those who are indifferent to me. And I think it's not an eye for an eye sort of thing or a pettiness to it. It's a wisdom in saying, I won't cast my pearls before swine. Like for the people who aren't for me, for the people who aren't building with me, stop pouring out your energy there and get with people who you can actually build with, who actually care about you. And you'll see more beautiful and more lasting results. I would also then say when it comes to representative wins, being the first Black isn't the flex that we think it is. So being the first Black fill in the blank, or first Black woman fill in the blank, first woman to do X, Y, and Z, especially within a system that continues to prove that it can chew people up and spit them out. MLK talks about the fears of being integrated into a burning house. And there are ways in which, like the United States as it stands, being more acclimated and being able to function well within this hellscape isn't the flex that we think it is. So building, again, alternatives that work for a new world that actually works for all of us is where our energy should lie. And that's my word to the people.
And that is A powerful, powerful word. And we just want to thank you so much today for joining us, um, bringing this wisdom to Women's Month. And it is not even just meant for Women's Month. It's something that, you know, people should take and just carry with them throughout their journey, especially those who are I mean, in the public eye, in entertainment, in media, in politics, those who understand the purpose of, you know, being the change that they want to see, pretty much.
Exactly.
So we
Exactly.
just want to thank you so much for joining us today, exclusive interviews. And I know you mentioned some outlets. Do you have, you know, contact information for our audience that may want to follow you guys, may want to check out the movie that's on YouTube? Do you want to drop some of that
Yeah.
information?
Absolutely. The easiest place to find all the information where to follow us online, all of our projects, is media2070.org, media2070.org.
Powerful. Thank you so much again for joining us today. And you guys, thank you for tuning in with us. Until next time, get your life for Gyrl TV. Bye.